I found your mustache monthly. Ah! Ah! Ah!
It's been 3 months since Sonic Forces came out. We've all heard of its reputation and its lukewarm reception. It's taken me this long to come out and say something because of holidays, school, and other videos and plans for the channel, including my 100% playthrough of Forces. I've covered every little aspect, detail, challenge, and collectible the game has to offer. Twice. I primarily use the PS4 version, but outside my channel, I also purchased the Switch version, and that second playthrough was significantly easier than the first. But if you somehow don't have the game yet and plan to get it, I do recommend the PlayStation or Xbox versions for that smoother frame rate. It really does make a difference. However, proceed with caution. Unless you were following my most recent Let's Plays or my feedback to Sega and Sonic Team on Sonic Forces and Sonic's Future video, you do have a general idea of what I think of the game. I was one of the more lighter-hearted, optimistic YouTubers when it came to Forces reveals and trailers, but looking back, there's several hints of naivety overshadowing the optimism in there that I cannot pretend to ignore, which can make those videos either funny, depressing, or very hard to watch. I'm not deleting them though, because lots of you guys came to this channel because of them, and I wouldn't be where I am now without you. I don't think those videos are bad either, but man, it makes me feel stupid seeing how much credit I was giving the game, even when the signs, especially in gameplay, displayed otherwise. That's also why I question my credibility now as a Sonic tuber to a degree. Just because I 100%ed Sonic Forces twice though, doesn't equal me loving the game. So what do I think of Sonic Forces overall then? It was okay. Let's not kid ourselves, when Sonic Forces disappoints, it really, and I mean really, disappoints. But that's not to say the whole experience was loathsome. But Sonic Forces is a game you really have to play for yourself to truly understand. The physics, especially, and how the levels are designed and described, are more compliant if you've played the game. But hopefully you'll understand enough of what I'll explain in this review, and spoiler warning as well. Spoilers incoming if you haven't played. But if you're still watching after that spoiler warning, let's dive right into the gameplay first. The gameplay comprises of 4 different styles: Modern Sonic, Custom Hero, Classic Sonic, and Tag Team. The obvious interest is Modern Sonic, and his boost gameplay is the highlight of Sonic Forces, but it's not as complimented nor engaging as Sonic Colors, let alone Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Generations. And the lack of engagement is a prevalent problem in Sonic Forces. A lot of levels are heavily automated, with an overwhelming amount of boost panels, hidden springs, QTEs, and mid-gameplay cutscenes across almost all gameplay styles. Luminous Forest is one of my least favorite levels because of how unnecessarily automated it is. Some levels are open and provide a separate path, but are always very limited, narrow, and or super short, centering back to the main path often in less than 5 seconds. The lack of time is also how I describe the levels overall and the game's total length. Sonic Forces can be beaten in 3 hours, and you're looking at a total of 30 main levels, 11 extra/secret stages for curious players, most of which can be beaten in a minute and a half or less on the first go. I swear, the length of these levels is stupefying, and you can tell some of them were supposed to be combined into one, like Sunset Heights, Redgate Bridge, and Park Avenue were most likely split to pad out the game's length, especially since their layout is almost identical and could easily be connected. The level design unfortunately doesn't live up to much of anything either across all styles. Most of the time it'll be flat 2D sections and super linear 3D sections, especially later on. You know they could have done much more with the level design, but in my opinion, they're not even as unique or fun as Colors levels. There'll even be these mid-level quick time events that act as an in-game cutscene, which look cool sometimes, but really break the game's pacing of the level and are unnecessary. Half of them don't even require you to hit the button to complete it. Top this with the heavy automation already, and you have many people, myself included, calling the game a visual novel. Modern Sonic himself feels slightly awkward. Even though they brought back his double jump from Colors and buffed his air boost, they also got rid of his wall jump and drift, which I think is because of the Custom Heroes control scheme, but I find it dumb because the way Sonic accelerates and moves around is so stilted and contrived. You'll always be running on a grind with or without boosting. Some levels also have certain turns or sections you cannot boost on, or you're gonna fly straight off the path. Metropolitan Highway, for example, has a couple curves I feel the drift would be necessary for, as well as Luminous Forest if you took out all the boost panels. But steering and moving Sonic mid-air, but especially on ground, feels so feigned and the stiffest he's ever been. I know I said the gameplay was close to Generations during that demo a week before the game came out, but a level as linear as Lost Valley did not make for a proper conclusion like that to be made. Not just his movement, also the buttons will sometimes be unresponsive, not all of them, mainly like quick stepping, the shoulder buttons. I swear half the time I quick step near the end of the stage, mainly in stage 29, sometimes Sonic doesn't even move left or right the way I want him to, and just end up mashing the shoulder buttons and hope for the best. It's not a big issue, but a concern nonetheless. Overall, Modern Sonic was again the main sticking point of the game, but is underhanded and set in very linear, very short levels that altogether feel like a step down from how he was controlled, played, and how his levels were designed in Generations. The Avatar is another similar case. The custom hero feels the most awkward of the bunch. This is where I stand by playing the game yourself to fully grasp the issues at play. The type of species you choose only has small perks like additional rings after dying, gaining Sonic's double jump, or attracting rings depending on the animal, but the gameplay is like Modern Sonic without the boost, which equals this weird mess of movement. Your character will quickly gain a lot of speed after walking slowly and can feel awkward again, and he/she will have this funky inertia after jumping where you would normally make a gap but you would not too. It's hard to explain. The custom hero feels floaty yet like a brick at the same time. Imagine plummeting as soon as you let go of the jump button. That's the best way I could put it, but nothing about the custom hero's movement feels innate nor smooth. There's no rhythm. It was just okay using him/her. They also have Wispins, these gun weapons based off the Wisps, being Burst, Lightning, Drill, Hover, Asteroid Cube, and Void, which are not only hit or miss for some and add nothing to the game, but are so basic in terms of attack and usage. Some of them allow you to skip and fly over entire levels, as if you were playing with Tails. They even give you one of the most broken Wisps at the start, the Burst, which you could just fly over a whole level when given the Wisp. Same for the Lightning and Hover Wispins, and even the Drill Wispin is absolutely ridiculous and goes against the level design. Some require to be mashed, others can be continuous from a single press and can either stop your momentum to a halt or continue it. Even the homing attack, the custom hero, overall is a slower, boostless, much more awkward Sonic. The tag team gameplay is combining both Modern Sonic and the Avatar's gameplay in one and take up a small portion of the game. You pretty much know what to expect if you play Modern Sonic and the custom hero. They also throw in a double boost, which is this boost that doesn't require mashing the left button almost every time and only adds more unengaging automation to the game. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the custom hero was Boom Sonic at one point. The game was originally supposed to be a Generations 2, despite seeing more connections with the Adventure era, but maybe because of how Sonic Boom did overall, they scrapped it. Either way, I wouldn't be shocked if the custom hero was supposed to be Boom Sonic. And lastly, Classic Sonic. This was the first question mark the game set for lots of fans and implied forces as a sequel to Generations, which wasn't the case. I've stated before I personally don't mind Classic Sonic as long as Classic controlled like he did in Generations and had neatly designed levels that were fun and interesting to play. Neither case was prominent. I was aware of just how much Takashi Iizuka, head of Sonic Team, was the one pushing for Classic Sonic in his levels, aesthetics, and themes, but not by this freaking much this past decade. I knew Classic Sonic would disrupt Sonic's overall brand identity and would ultimately hinder Sonic's future direction, but it baffles me how much this man has a love boner for Classic Sonic despite the criticisms implementing such elements in modern Sonic games. People dislike how Sonic 4 fails to replicate the Genesis/Mega Drive games. Sonic Lost World's levels, aesthetics, and enemies are criticized for being lazy and ripped out of Sonic 1 and 2. Sonic Mania, despite it being as successful successful and well executed as it is still criticized for relying a lot on nostalgia and going heavy on the older zones. If Generations already established the fact that classic Sonic is a younger version of Sonic, why is Sega and Sonic Team turning him into a separate character? People didn't play Generations just for classic Sonic. People don't play Sonic CD for the same reason they play Sonic Heroes. There's a reason their gameplay styles have differed as years passed. There's a reason they're called Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic. You already established a identity for both of them in their games. Unless the title says Generations 2, stop acting like they belong in the same game. It's a simple vocabulary word, guys. It's not a multivariable calculus equation. It's 2D gameplay to 3D gameplay, the former being entirely based off the old games, and the latter trying to be new, modernized, and ambitious. Well, damn, that was a little harsh, don't you think? No, because not only has this been a common criticism for the past decade, classic Sonic controls like utter crap. Compared to Generations, forget about Mania. Compared to Generations, even classic Sonic feels stiff and unrewarding. The jumping inertia problem from the Avatar is evident here, except he feels heavier, his speed is entirely fixed, and actually slower unless you're spin or drop dashing, and I'd bet my life on his drop dash being programmed wrong. I swear to you, whenever I spin dash over a ledge, my momentum carries over and I fall as I regularly do in any Sonic game with the spin dash. My momentum carries over as I'm falling. But when I drop dash over a ledge, I immediately drop like a rock almost every time. I do not get that at all. I'm not touching the jump button midair. As soon as I go over a ledge, I just plummet like I weigh 10 tons. Classic Sonic has no place in Sonic Forces, and the developers know this. He has 6 levels, he ironically has the most diverging paths, his gameplay does not feel satisfactory, his level design feels the most uninspired and lazy, his levels and inclusion take away from everything else in the game and ruin the pacing and structure, and I guarantee you this game would have been much better received if they scrapped Classic Sonic altogether. Even in the game's story, which I'll touch on in a minute, Classic Sonic sticks out like a sore thumb. He genuinely serves no purpose being here story-wise and gameplay-wise. Between narrative, gameplay, physics, and even music, Classic Sonic is the worst thing about Sonic Forces. So, a hefty portion of gameplay doesn't sit right with me, and the levels themselves leave a lot to be desired. With all of what's said thus far, did you actually have fun with Sonic Forces?
No! Yes.
Like I said, Forces has some moments in the sun. I like the Egg Gate stage. It's short, but it has mechanics, design, and ideas there that make it one of the better stages, even if its mechanics were very short-lived, plus it's a beautiful looking stage. Mortar Canyon also is another stage I like, even if the space isn't suited for Sonic's controls, and Null Space, for as stupidly disappointing as the concept is, has pretty decent level design as you go through the city. The boss fights are a mixed bag too. The Zavok boss fight was my favorite one, and I feel is better than his fight in Lost World. Any chance I get to see Sonic beat the crap out of Zavok, automated cutscene or not, I'll take. The Metal Sonic boss fight was okay, it's what you'd expect from a fight with Metal. Unfortunately, the Infinite boss fights are simple and mediocre. The first and second bouts require minimal effort, and his final fight is the Metal Sonic boss fight reskin. The Etrigoon boss fight was also a letdown and easy, same for the final boss being the second Colors reskin we've had, but I oddly liked this one more than I did in Lost World. I think it was more engaging than the automated Mach Speed section in addition to the triple boost at the end, which was flashy, I'll admit. The customization options for the custom hero is one of the best things about Sonic Forces, for how incredibly detailed and layered it shockingly is. I didn't expect this many different outfits and options for you to create your custom character. You could have a decently fun time trying to make your own character. The writing and story has some laughable moments where Knuckles and a few others take themselves so seriously it's hard to try and do the same, but I wasn't loathing or dreading it like I was in Lost World. I was interested to see what would happen next. By no means am I calling this story perfect, but this is the best Sonic story we've gotten since Sonic Unleashed. Most of the characters do feel engaged, and it was a nice change of pace seeing them tackle a serious endeavor in a long time. Seeing Shadow, the cool anti-villain, come in and help our friends with the war, seeing Knuckles take charge and lead the resistance was a reasonable and even respectable choice for Knuckles' character. Amy, Silver, the Chaotix, Rouge, even Sonic to a larger degree all feel very within character and are a decent time to engulf in. The voice acting too is even good. Literally every voice felt mostly consistent and not annoying nor unfitting to hear, given the proper lines depending on the script. The only thing I wished watching them was the option to play as them. Infinite, unfortunately, has a terrible backstory comparable to Broly from Dragon Ball Z, and it's underhanded, especially towards the end. It sucks because he was one of the most interesting things about the game, but he just leaves. There are two things that have left me more pissed than anything else when it came to Sonic Forces. Primarily, it's false advertising. The fake Shadow, useless, and served nothing to the story, but the worst offender of this was Chaos. I feel so bad for the adventure fans because the 25th anniversary party kept hyping up adventure-based themes, and bringing Chaos back to not use him at any capacity was such a spit in the face for many adventure fans. Chaos, much like classic Sonic, has no place in the game whatsoever. What's more is the development team is not the same one as the guys behind Colors and Generations. The level designers consisted of two newbies, both of which had no prior knowledge on Sonic's past games, and Lost World's level designer, whom was already given criticism for his design on Lost World's levels, which were one of the biggest flaws of that game. It may be hard having to switch multiple programmers and developers. I have no idea what goes on behind the development staff and team throughout the development process. It could be very tricky and hard for all I know, but at least have someone with the requirement of having prior knowledge on Sonic's games and philosophies. If Generations level designer hadn't moved to the Olympic Games, then it would have served more validity in that advertising. I do admire the character and personality displayed for the most part in Sonic Forces, but my second biggest gripe, Tails. What the absolute happened to him? I really cannot see how anyone can defend Tails the way he acts now, as if adventure fans already didn't get enough crap as it is. This just completely defecates all over Tails' character and his fans. Why does he do nothing now? Why is he afraid of Chaos Zero when he took down Chaos 4, when he absorbed 4 Chaos Emeralds, when he took down one of Eggman's strongest mechs in Adventure and saved Station Square, all on his own? Why does he constantly feel the need to rely on Sonic, when in both adventure games his character improved and was set to him moving past that reliant nature, becoming an independent fighter, and when he avenged Sonic's presumed death in Sonic Adventure 2? He didn't have time to cower in fear, he sucked it up and knew he had to take down Eggman because of higher stakes. First, Colors gave him displays of slight immaturity, but Lost World made him a total bitch, and now he's a complete pussy! Like, what the hell is continuity anymore with Sonic and its characters? And these are only a few examples. It is so painful to see this happen to Tails, it makes no sense. But my absolute favorite thing about Sonic Forces is Episode Shadow. Episode Shadow is this free DLC prequel story explaining Infinite's origin, and the levels here are reskins of the main in-game levels, but slightly harder. Also, I know what I said about Infinite and the levels themselves aren't good either, but the fact that you could play as Shadow the Hedgehog after 11 years feels so refreshing. I also like that they tried giving him some difference from Sonic, being the light speed attack on top of his homing attack, destroying a line of multiple enemies in one shot. This might be me too, but it felt like Shadow controlled better than Sonic did. That's something I can't explain as well. Like, just basic movement with Shadow felt slightly more natural? I don't know. Let me know if I'm not the only one. But I can also eat up Team Dark at any time. Seeing Shadow low-key diss Rouge and all three of them talk to one another is always a treat. And can I also admire how they portrayed Shadow in this game and how well Kirk Thornton finally did as Shadow for once. Shadow's current VA finally found a nice combo of David's calm and collectiveness and Jason's natural edginess to make this very solid Shadow voice that doesn't sound like Shadow's had a smoking problem, in my opinion at least. His remixes sound so damn good. Rhythm and balance and Supporting Me are great songs, but Shadow's level songs actually fit within the context of the game. The soundtrack overall for Sonic Forces is good, but goes for this very odd EDM, techno, dubsteppy direction, which all around has good composition, but average execution. It also depends if you're into that sort of thing or not. The Custom Heroes songs are by far the best songs, but classic Sonic songs are the worst, mainly for being very, and I mean very, unfitting. Other than Infinite's theme, Fist Bump, Shadow's remixes, and some of the Custom Heroes tracks, none of Sonic Force's songs strike out as memorable nor fitting, especially compared to previous soundtracks, which is a shame. Overall, I think Sonic Forces is a step in the right direction for the Sonic series. Rather than take the experimental route, they stuck with an established style. If this game was just Sonic and the Custom Hero, I can guarantee you people will be happier with Forces. At the very least, you'd see more 7s in the review scores. The game does inhibit the bare minimum of what you would expect from a Boost Sonic game, and it can be enjoyable. But the game is bogged down by classic Sonic, his influence, very poor level design, awkward physics, and squandered potential across the game and its story. Sonic Forces sits at an okay 6.5 out of 10 for me, serving as a decent Sonic game for newcomers to the series and younger kids, but completely misses several marks for more dedicated fans and leaves a lot to be desired across the board, lacking focus, identity, and the intuitiveness previous Boost games had. I don't regret purchasing it, but I don't feel satisfied with what the game leaves me with. If you're a Sonic fan, I would only recommend this if you're a Boost fan or if you're into the Custom Hero and wanting to create your own character. Just don't expect too much. If you're new to Sonic, then I say pick it up, especially since it's cheap. But if you're a longtime fan, I would recommend saving it in hopes of a better Sonic game down the line. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Sonic content very soon, and other gaming related content as well as Nintendo. I'm recording this at midnight too, so some of you might be thinking I'm not as expressive and I'm trying to keep my voice to a minimum at some points, so I apologize for that. It's late at night, I'm tired, but I'm always grateful for you guys watching my content. I have another discussion video coming super soon on Sonic's current state and his future, and I'll try and use this past year as learning experience and learn from some of my naive statements. I'm not going to go ahead and say the next game's going to be great, don't worry. We're going to analyze the situation a lot more thoroughly next time. I guarantee it. Stay super.